Hey guys, welcome back to Yomo. This is the Year of Magical Learning podcast. So let's talk about what I talk about when I talk about running. And this is part two of two. The book, what I talk about when I talk about running, by a memoir by Haruki Murakami.
I think that's how you pronounce it. That sounds close enough. Sounds what I would
Right.
say. So yeah. And if we're both saying it wrong, then sorry,
Sorry.
Haruki. Yeah. But yeah, no. This is part two of two. So this guy's a really famous writer apparently in Japan, or I guess worldwide. I don't know. But he's a famous writer, novelist, and
hmm
he this is a nonfiction memoir. This guy is not just a writer; he's also a marathon runner. I wouldn't really call him like a competitive marathon runner, but he competes in marathons regularly. So I can't remember how many he said he's run, but it was dozens. I think it was probably over 20 or something like that in his life, kind of thing. And he constantly trains and runs, and he says, everything that he learned about writing, he learned about from running. So it's kind of a interesting just look at his life of how these two passions of his intersect and help him to be his best self, and what he talks about when he talks about running. Like that's what it's called. The first one, if you remember, we talked about focus and endurance, and how those are keys to doing anything meaningful in this world. And then the second one is beating the bonk. This one was really interesting, right? So I I've never personally run a marathon in my life, right? I've like a full marathon, 26.2 miles. The longest I've ever run in one continuous run was 17 miles. Like I just completed a mini marathon, a half marathon on last Thursday, right? It's not like I don't regularly run a little bit longer distances. I just don't really these days. Like I don't. It's just not. I don't care. Like someday I can't rule out. It's not on my plans, but the day that Amelia and I ran 17 miles, it wasn't really in my plans. We just started running. It was a really nice day, and we just kept going. Like it ended up, that was what we did. So I definitely don't have any intentions of ever enrolling into a formal marathon someday
And
myself.
I
But
think that's the best
uh,
kind of run anyway,
it was,
just
yeah,
because, if you say,
fun.
for whatever reason, I put rules and constraints on myself to go and run 26.2 miles.
On this day,
And
at this time, at this place,
right,
yeah,
and so
right,
so this is what I say self-inflicted misery, just because you put these constraints on yourself. No one puts a gun to your head and say,
right,
"Hey, do this and do that." You, I guess, will be focused on boxing yourself in that constraint
yep,
and not having the ability to live the moment. But if you say, hey, I just feel like it, I think
yep,
that's the best part versus, hey, I have to do this. Oh, I need to run 13 miles. Well, what if I just want to learn do 11?
right.
I mean, the thing is,
Go
if
as far
you,
as you want. Yeah,
I mean, that's what I'm saying is, when you put constrain yourself, and like I say, 99% of all the things that we endure um, in a way that is meaningless is a constraint that we put on ourselves. For
don't,
whatever reason, we do that.
don't ruin the rest of the reflection because that's kind of what this is about. uh, is
I promise you, I did not read your reflection beforehand.
but it's kind of about this, and I know this is what you're gonna say. I'm sure we'll pick that topic back up very quickly after once I'm done with this
Mm,
because you and I talked about this many a times, right? And what I'm going to say to you isn't going to be a very big surprise. So I'm not going to be surprised if this is exactly where you go after this reflection, which is what I thought you were going to do anyway. But yeah, well, save it to the end because I know it'll be a relevant topic.
mm.
But you're right. Like I don't really necessarily care how far I run or whatever. It's just doing what I want to do with my daughter and you know spending time with her every single day and in our way and wherever that goes, right? Some days we'll run longer, some days we won't. Some days we'll just some days we want to run shorter, some days we want to run with a stupid pack on our back that has weighted stuff down like for the past month. Like some days we want to run fast, some days we want to run slow, some days it's just it doesn't really matter. It's just like whatever you're feeling, just do it. But that said, because I've never personally run a marathon, I can't speak from experience of what this reflection is about from a physical running perspective. But the one of the things that the author talks about is the worst part about running any marathon, as he's describing it, is happens after 22 miles. And for the author, he says that's when everything starts to break down, anger sets in. It's when you accept the fact you no longer have your best stuff and you have to find a way to push through and finish anyway. Also, runners have a term for this. It's called bonking. And bonking, I think I've talked to you about this before in the past, but there's like a physiological reason why bonking happens. It's a sudden bonking, like the running definition is like a sudden onset of fatigue, and it happens to everyone that runs a marathon that's outside of their control. It's the body, physiologically speaking, can only store apparently 2,000 calories of glycogen, which is the fuel used to run, i.e. sugar, and that usually is exhausted around 20 miles. So a marathon's 26.2 miles, and that means that roughly the last 4 to 6 miles of a marathon, you're out of sugar, you're out of fuel, so your body turns to an alternate fuel source, which is fat. And most of us aren't used to running in a fasted fat burning state of no sugar, and therefore it completely changes the dynamics of your run. You and I had actually talked about this a couple nights ago, right? When you were talking about working out, in a fasted state and what that does to you. And I'm pretty sure that this reflection just reminded me why runners train in a fasted state and then they ramp back up and back in their glycogen fueled sugar state. It's because of this, I think. It's when their body then gets accustomed to running like this, so they can then, when that happens and they're using that alternate fuel source, they're able to still continue to maintain their stamina and their pace and whatever. I'm pretty sure that's the reason why people train like this for longer distance endurance running. Anyway, but that's neither here nor there. I guess I can research that a little bit more, and I probably will. But while I've never, so that's what bonking is, right? While I've never personally run a marathon, I can relate to this bonking feeling though, because I talked to you about this so many times on this journey while I was writing this stuff, right? So this is reflection 335, right? I personally started to when this journey began of writing YOMO every single day for 15 months straight. I was able to write every single day, Monday through Friday. Amelia and I, we had a great rhythm, and we had a lot of help too. That was back when we had our nanny. I didn't have to worry about getting Luca up every morning. I could just, I didn't have to put my dad hat on while I was up in my office, like deep in the zone. I had all this reserve of books, that we started off the journey with, that I could write from, lessons that I learned from, that I could fill in dates when I wasn't finishing new books. We had a ton of momentum. I was having a blast. It seemed like every single night I would go to bed with like an idea in my head, and I'd wake up and it would just run upstairs and bang it out, and poof, an hour later, a great reflection would be there, and it'd feel good and start the day, and everything was gravy. It was easy. I mean, it wasn't like it was not challenging, but it was just pure fun and easy. All that changed when I hit about book 300 on this journey, and I talked to you about this so many times as this journey was going on, but I hit my own bonking on this kind of marathon. If you do the math and you like add it all up here, 300 books is divided by 365 is 82%. 82% times 26.2 miles would be 21.53 miles. When I hit 300 books, I was about 21.53 miles into my own marathon that was this 365 book reflection. I no longer, I exhausted my reserve of books. That was when it officially ran out. Kiara left us, was our nanny, because she had her own child that was born around this time, and now I was on full-time dad duty in the mornings, so I was always had one eye on my phone to the left of me here on my desk while I was watching like the baby monitor, making sure he wasn't gonna get up while I'm trying to furiously write and get the thought out of my head, waiting for the scream to inevitably happen to be able to then get him up and go run and do all the dad stuff in the morning and get him all ready for school, and then you know, and then I could not write every single day either, right? Because I was out of the reserve books now, you know, and I was only being able to write whenever I had new thoughts and new books that I would finish. And there was one other really important factor too was I don't know why the ideas just stopped coming to me. Like, I mean, it was like like I said, I used to go to bed at night and I was just like effortlessly would wake up and have this great thought in my head. And for whatever weird reason, like it felt like I had to like dig deep every single day to like pull something out of this to like have some reflection to be able to put onto the paper, you know, I mean onto my keyboard and get it done. You know, I don't know why. It became hard. It became really, really hard. I just ran out of energy while I was trying to do this every single day. And the bonk really sucks. Like, and eventually I had to accept that this was the new normal. I talked to you about this. I don't know how many times I talked to you. Do you remember me every single time I'd be like, I'm so tired of writing. I was like, I don't know what my next book's gonna be. I was like, it's got to be the right book. And you're like, why does it matter, Chris? Like, you're like, no, you would keep telling me. I'm like, I know it doesn't matter, but I put this
it's been getting old.
It was.
It's getting so old listening to you complaining about the books, and I keep telling you, you know, who put a gun to your head and make you do this?
No one. So
and then yet the next day do the same thing, and the next day the same.
It was bad. I was struggling, man. I was really struggling. I mean, and I can only feel like this is what it feels like to run a race when you hit that point two, and you're like, hey, man, like it's okay. Walk for a few minutes or something. It's fine. Like nobody's gonna kill you if you can't, you know, run the same pace you're running at mile 12 that you were, you know, you're at 24. It's like fine, right? You know. Anyway, long story short, like I had to accept this. Like this is it was just what it was, right? You know, I wasn't gonna give up. Like that was never in the cards because this is about living for two with my daughter, and this is about doing stuff that we love to do, and I do love to do this. But you know, I also needed to accept like, hey, this is just what it is. Like, you know, you got to keep fighting, you got to keep enduring, you got to keep living your values every single day. And slowly but surely, I accepted this as my new normal, and I don't know, we got through it. You know, by the time I got to around this book, which was 335 in, you know, you're looking at almost 24.04 miles. So at this stage, I finally got past like that from like that 300 to about like around this book. You know, I got to the point in time where I was like, I can see the finish line now. I was like, I can feel it. I was like, the energy came back, and I was like, I got this. We're gonna fucking rip through this thing. I'm gonna get my last kicks in. This is what happened to me on my half marathon that I ran the other day. I mean, I hit a baby bonk, if you will, around like mile 9 or something like that. And I was like, fuck, this sucks. I was like, I don't want to keep fucking running, you know. And then I looked at the time on my watch, and I was like, I had a time set in mind that I wanted to do, and I was like, I got to catch up if I'm going to do this. Like, you got to get going. Started striding out longer. Then I hit like mile marker 10, mile 11, and I was like, oh, we fucking got this. And I was like, I'm pushing as hard as I can. I was running as fast as I could, even though I was hurting, you know. And I was, but you get that extra wind in you. You know what I mean? When you can see when you can feel the finish line getting closer, you know, it's just something inside of you. You're like, I could do this. Like, let's just go hard, you know, like, you know, give everything you got. That was about what happened when I got about this point in time of the journey between like, you know, 340, 335 to like 365. I was like, I can fucking feel this, you know. I was like, we are gonna rip through this finish line, and we are gonna do it, and we're gonna finish strong, you know. So that was what I committed to at this stage, and we did, you know, we made it through. I always think of this as like a marathon, and this was a really interesting lesson I learned from running, you know, about like the corollaries between running, this journey, anything that you have to endure for. But I know you're going to tell me I'm a doofus because you're like, nobody told you you had to bonk and keep going, dumbass. Like, you could have just taken a break and slow it up, you know. All right, go ahead. All right, take it away.
That's exactly where we're gonna go with. To me, so let me say this before I put my foot in my mouth. But you know, yesterday, we're talking about focusing, right? Focus and endure for the right reason. So today, I would say beating the bonk for the right reason. Otherwise, there is no need for you to beat any bonk.
That's true.
Right? So with that caveat, I say you're a doofus for putting yourself inside this bonk, right? Because I mean, you think about it. I think the I guess the thought of having a marathon, it makes your brain goes into this anxiety,
It did.
right?
Yeah,
And this anxiety is what distracted you from coming up with the ideas you had, like you did in the beginning, because
right.
you were preoccupied with the anxiety of, okay, I gotta finish this, and I'm afraid that I'm gonna run out of ideas, I'm gonna run out of books. So that is what's in your head. That is what takes hold of your mind. And so your mind was not free to did the things it did before. And I think
Right.
that's the reason why you hit the bunk. I think
I
and
agree.
I, and I think that the bunk in a way it's it's self-fulfilling,
100% is. Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
let's say you do like 5 years, right? You will never hit the bunk until reflection, like 900 or 1,000 something, right? You think
Right.
about it, because
Yeah. Oh
you,
yeah.
for whatever reason, say, hey, I want to do a 365, because that's the number you put in your head to
It
say,
was
hey,
self-imposed,
and
100%.
you
Like
you
nobody told me that. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's a doofus for you to
It
be. You
was
still imposing yourself to that, and you hit the bunk, and like you said yourself, the bunk sucks.
it does. It was
It
horrible.
sucks, right?
It
It
was
is horrible. I mean, and for
I was
things that
struggling.
for things that you don't want to do, that is beyond your core values. It is very hard to go through. I
Right.
mean, if a person does not like to run, it's very hard. I mean, that's why, and also like the concept of the 80-20 applies here as well. You think about it, 80% of
Right.
your journey, right? Your marathon is, 80% of it. That's pretty easy. That's like, hey, I can breeze through, and then suddenly you hit the 80%, right? So it takes 20% your effort to get the 80%, but it takes 80% of the rest of the 80% to get a remaining. So anyone who isn't aligning the core values, the bond is especially very difficult for that
It's
person,
devastating. It's like
right?
devastating. I mean, it's
So you
yeah.
look at somebody who's inside of another industry, like a for you like a sales and marketing. If you
Mhm.
don't like sales and marketing, you can only learn to 80% of it. Then the rest of 20% of what you learn is not very feasible for that person. It's so much hard. It's so much challenging for them. It's like, hey, I've learned general marketing, sales and marketing, right? I hit 80%. It was pretty,
Right.
it took me like a month or two to learn all this. But then to get to the point that where you are, right? It took like it took you 2 months.
Yeah. Well,
It
yeah.
took you 19 years to get to
Right. Right.
20%. Another the rest of the 20%, the rest of the 19%. There's still
Right.
the 1%. It take you 100 years to get to the rest of.
Oh yeah,
I
for
mean,
sure.
you
Yeah.
might never get to 100%.
Oh, of
That's what
course
I'm
not.
saying
Yeah.
is when you hit the bunk, the 80-20 rule applies here as well. But regardless, I think the bunk that you hit is it's self-imposing
It's
and
100%.
self-fulfilling, right? You
Yeah.
impose yourself and you fulfill it yourself. And I think that's in of itself, it's
It's weird. It's
it's
weird. Is what it
weird, and
is.
it's weird and
It's not
non
logical. Like it's okay. So like let's go. Let's just talk about a marathon, like an actual marathon, right? You run out of glycogen. You know what you could do?
you recover, you start recovering.
Eat some fucking food. Go take a loaf of bread and go sit down for a couple hours until the
Exactly.
glycogen builds back up, and then you can and then go finish your 6 miles or whatever, and like stretch it out a little bit. Like, but no, we're like, no, we're gonna
No,
keep
I
fucking
don't want
going
to.
through
I
this.
don't want to recover. I don't want to refuel. I just want to continue to. I don't know.
Suffer. I don't
Sabotage
like
myself. And, yeah,
because I said
forces
26.2
forces my
miles.
body to find an alternative fuel source. I mean, and your body say, "What the fuck are you trying to do, you doofus?"
That's exactly right. Like it's
I'm
not like
trying to keep you alive here. Stop.
the irony
I
of all
mean,
ironies.
it's the indicator, like we should say. Well, we talked about your feeling on your shoulder when you carry that that weight. Like,
Oh, dude,
hey,
yeah,
your
this was this
body
month.
is
Yeah,
telling you
yeah.
something.
this is absolutely this month when I with the monthly challenge this month, and you know, you're totally right. I was like, I this morning I was like, God, I gotta finish this, you know, because I said I was gonna do this for a month, and honestly, like everything inside of me wanted to just be like, just go run, Chris, just go run without a fucking weighted vest on your back, you know, like, and go feel light and airy and just go enjoy the weather. You know, it was actually a decent weather day outside, and I was like, but nope, I couldn't do it. I self-imposed, you know, horribleness on myself for no reason. I'm doing this for a reason. I'm about to show you the book 365, right? So I finished this. This is the last one, and I wrote a really long one for that one. And then I wrote 366. You know, it was the next day, the next fucking day. I finished another book, and I was like, "Oh my God!" And you know what the title was?
Break free. Yeah. You're self-imposing. You're self-imposing.
You know what I read? You know what I read for the look at the book?
The Black Swan.
I decided, because I was so hell bent on new books, new ideas, new whatever. I can't go. I already did I already did a 5-part series on the Black Swan. This is what I'm thinking in my head with these like self-imposed chains, right? I can't read the Black Swan. I can't read one of my favorite books again. Like, what the fuck? That would waste.
Who said?
Like,
who said?
this? Like, this is what I said to myself, and I was.
God tells you shall not read your favorite book again. Like,
exactly. I was like, because it's not the rules. True, it's not the fucking rules. And you're like, what rules?
But what rules? Who wrote the rules?
It was so fucking dumb. And now, like, the next reflection after I finished this book was like effortless again. And I was like, oh my God, this feels so good. But I kept running, right? You know, like it was.
But
like
the next day, it's not like you took a break. It's not like you took a loaf of bread and you start eating it and getting fuel. Hey, you already had it all already inside you. You just need to have that imaginary chain removed. I mean, and that is self-imposing. Like I say, 95 to 99% of all the things that we endure that is miserable is self-imposing.
It's 100% self-imposing, I think. Like, and the funniest of the funniest things is I'm on, you know, reflect. I just, you know, I just finished my new book today, so I finished 419, or well, I'll be on 420 next. I'll write that tomorrow morning because I just finished a book today. I might even write 421 off of it. I don't know. It was a good book, so I might write 2 on it. But the point being is I'm, you know, 35 plus 19. What is that? So 54. I'm 54 reflections past the end of the marathon, and I don't feel any stress or pressure. Like I don't care. Like, I'm just running in the morning, and you know, it's just like I'm just going on a jog, and like, you know, I'm done for the day. Like, you know, or if I want to run that day fast, I'll run that day fast. If I want to run slow, if I want to run 10 miles, I'll run 10 miles. If I want to run 20, I'll run 20. If I want to run whatever, I just do what I want to do again.
Yeah, you run without imposing.
Right.
It's so much fun, and you go so much further. I mean,
right.
That's the thing is, you know, we have so much more capacity than we think we do. And certainly we limit ourselves by thinking that's the only as far as we can go. And because you're self-imposing, you get into that bonk. You hit that bonk.
Exactly.
And that bonk is what prevents you. You can say, hey, why is it 26 mile, 0.2 mile? Why can it be 100 miles? Why can it be 1,000 miles? Like you asking yourself, hey, I can only play tennis 1,001 days. Who imposed on that? And if you had to impose that on yourself, that limits your ability, for one. And second, it creates this anxiety where you get to the bonking point, 80%. You're going to start to struggle because it's your own self-imposing anxiety that creates that misery. And so what I'm saying is, I don't want to combat any bonk because I want to enjoy life. I want to do things because I felt like doing it. Because it's not like there is a certain place that's better than another. You think, hey, you know, I like Texas better, or I like Indiana better. Because when you stay in Indiana, you want to go visit San Antonio. And then when you're in San Antonio, you want to go back and visit Indiana. Because
Right.
it's not about where it is, it's about what is your state of mind at that time. What do
Yeah,
you feel like doing at that time? Because you say, hey, I can
about
be
balance.
in paradise in a beach resort, but I need or want or desire to be somewhere else. You will still feel miserable in paradise.
Mhm.
And to you, in that paradise is hell, right? And you want to go somewhere else, like, hey, I want to go to a place where things are quiet. People say, hey, I am from a quiet neighborhood, a quiet city. I want to go into the bustling and the rustling of the city, the New York City, the Silicon Valley, wherever it is. People
Right.
yearn for that, and for me, I was like that before. When I was growing up in Seguin, Seguin, right? So, in Seguin, when I was growing up, it's a very, very nice and peaceful community. It's 18,000 people when I was growing up.
Yep.
That's very nice, and it's actually one of the best places because it's on the Guadalupe River, and people do the what do you call the tubing, the water
Yeah. Yeah.
tubing or whatever,
Hmm.
and people go there and they have fun and what. It's very, very nice and peaceful neighborhood. But everybody from that neighborhood yearns to go to the city like Houston, New York City, wherever it is, right? But
Right.
then the moment you were in these big places, you go, hey, one of these days, I'm gonna sell all my possessions and go back and get a little teeny house and have have some
Right.
peace and quiet. And that's the thing is, what do your state of mind says? And so when we do certain thing is do because you feel like it, not because you have to.
Right.
Just like when we talked about this before in previous episode, many episodes ago. They're talking about the difference between the what was it, the stretch zone and the
Oh, panic.
panic
Yeah.
zone, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
what it's something
It's
we
self-imposed. It's one of them is one of them
one
is
yeah,
not your
exactly.
yeah. It's yeah. Well, it's not your values in one of them. The other one is it's a balance state. Is the
Right,
stretch
it's
zone.
one is you wanted to do, the other one is someone else wanted to
Yes.
do,
Yes. Yeah.
right? And so that's a big difference.
It's a huge difference. Yeah. I mean, it's everything. It's actually everything. Because I think you're saying exactly the reflect this reflection should actually be the bonk is stupid. Like don't bonk. It should be the
I
reflection, right?
I
Like
don't want to be the bong, and I don't want to get to the bong, so
don't bonk. I mean, like
don't.
that's the point. Like you can't have focus and endurance if you bonk, right? Like I mean, yes, you can grit your way through it if you will. Like you
I
can
mean, and that's what
push
I'm
and
saying is,
push.
why do you want to grit your way through
You
something?
don't this is you're right. You're 1,000. I would have made it to 365 regardless whether or not I did it in 2 years or whether I did it in 7 years or whether I did it in 90 years. I wasn't going to stop doing this, because I enjoy learning every day with my daughter and learning something new and reading new books. And like eventually we would have hit plenty of books to be able to write about. And like we're still doing right now. I don't feel any
I
pressure every
mean, the thing
day.
is,
Like if I don't want to write
the
tomorrow, I won't write. Like
I can give you an example of what a bong uh, looks like. Okay, I mean, I was asking you earlier before we start recording. And say we're on 335, right? I did not believe it because the bunk that I'm having right now is I'm trying to catch up my uploads of these videos to YouTube. Okay, and so you think
haven't
about
done
it.
it yet.
I think that the hour that we spend to talk about it goes by faster than the
That's funny.
few minutes that I'm uploading these videos,
Right.
because I'm surprised myself by saying
It's
we're
so
only
annoying.
55.
Yeah.
I'm catching up, and it is going further away from the upload speed. So that thing is, you notice how it took us more than an hour to talk about this on a Yomo, right? And
Mhm.
that doesn't sound like it's hard. and it's quick in
Right.
my memory, but it's so hard to put it onto the onto the to just copy and paste. It's not like I have to do anything. I just to drag, drop it, copy the
Oh,
title, paste it. We delete some stuff for big if it's too long, and click, publish. That right in
yep.
comparison, that's actually much more work in my mind
It's
than
torture.
to get on to video every single day and talk over an hour. And that is what an example of bonk looks like.
Dude, I had I buffer. So I had this my least favorite thing of YOML was, and I don't even, to be honest with you, I don't even know why I did it, and or why I continue to do it. I don't really know. Just to be 100% honest with you, I don't really know. But I made the commitment to what? Why is it? I don't apparently my account got shut off or something. I don't know. But anyway, to your point, making these blog posts
Mm-hmm.
and then scheduling them to be posted out on social media, on the Twitter and whatever I was putting this thing on, was the most horrible part of this whole entire journey.
I mean, think about it. For you to post the work, right? I think,
it was already here.
How can the work is easier than the actual posting of the work on social media? I mean, that to you and to me, right? It's the things that we don't want to do, and it seems like it's a very, very, very difficult task. And
it was
from a objective point of view, it's ridiculous.
All I was doing was copying and pasting, and like that was
and
it.
It should take like less than a minute to do each one, and I can't even catch up to the actual recording of the podcast episode. That is what a bonk looks like. That's how horrible a bonk is. So I do not want to beat a bonk unless it's for the right reason. But I think that if it's for the right reason, I don't think I would hit a bonk. Right?
Yeah, no, I agree, because it's about balance. It's about balance and pacing, right? Like this is like,
because if you only hit a bonk think about it,
you get out of balance.
We have been doing this YOML. I mean, we did not decide on when the end of the YOML is going to be, because you asked me, hey, True, because you were writing reflections, and you would say, hey, we're going to I think we just say, hey, can we just talk about it? That was the commitment. Let's talk about it, right? There's no like, hey, we're gonna do this for 10, we're gonna do this for 100,
for 1 year.
We didn't make any of this commitment, but because of our uncommitted effort, we record this every single night, and it's supposed to be. What was it supposed to be, like 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes?
It was supposed to be 15 was the original goal, because we were going to do a 15-minute, like, quick discussion about it, and then we were going to move on to other topics that we were working on for other projects that we were doing. That was the point. We were going to start with a quick 15-minute, like, I'm just going to share this idea with you, we're going to talk about it, and we're going to move on. That was it. That was all it was supposed to be. And then it got longer.
Yeah, longer. It gets to the point where it was yesterday or the day before that I had to run for train. And you point me out on it, saying, okay, yeah, it's a rare occurrence, but it's one of those things where, because then if you think about it, because we did not constrain ourselves, if we run out of things to talk about, we stop, right? It's not like, oh, we're gonna have to do this for an hour, right? You think about it, if you say, hey, I had to do this for an hour, and you constrain yourself, you will hit the bonk at like 45 minutes. I say, for whatever reason, I just run out of things to talk about.
Right.
Right. So that's the thing is, we have done 334 so far. Have we ever hit a bonk in any of the episodes?
I don't think so. I mean,
we always run out of time.
Not run out of time. What ends up happening is we have to stop it. Like,
We have to stop it, because that's the thing is, if you, that's what I'm saying is, if you feel like saying things, then you say until you stop saying. Until we did not constrain ourselves in that kind of constraint. So your brain is free. It's free to, think about the idea, think about the discussion, think about all the things that we say, and understand even further. But if you put a arbitrary imaginary chain over it, you only see the chain, you don't see anything inside, and it just stops. Your brain just stops thinking.
Or you keep pushing. Like, I think
and if you keep pushing, it becomes very
burdensome.
It becomes obvious as well, because hey, for some reason, this guy is talking about nonsense at the end of the hour. Is that, he's talking something that no one understands what he's saying. It has nothing to do with what he says in the beginning.
Right.
And he's just mumbling about nothing.
This goes back to focus and endurance, though. What we talked about yesterday, right? So it's focus intensely. This is about balance too. I mean, I think all this goes back to balance. Like, when you focus intensely for short periods of time, but you do it every single day, it's sustainable, right? We have to cut ourselves up. If you're thinking about this, like in the running perspective, like I can run 5 miles easily these days, right?
But you can run cross country. You can run cross country. But the thing is, like you just said, logically, I mean, logically, it's so simple. You run until you run out of calories, right? and you stop and you eat some bread and refuel, and then you can run again. And so you can run around the globe how many times you want.
It's
so that's go back to what you're saying about balance. You have to say, well, the balance of, hey, when I run out my 2,000 calories, I'm gonna eat and refuel and recover so that I have another 2,000 calories and run another whatever 20 miles and then do it again and do it again. But if you run and then you exhaust yourself and then you have no more energy, no more calories to burn, well,
you don't want to get up the next day to
burn it? You can't do it that way.
Here, I'll give you another great example. After that half marathon that I ran, it was a full run the whole time, nonstop. Like, my fucking leg, I run every single day, and I've run every single day for years and years and years and years. My fucking legs on the outside of my quads and my calves fucking hurt really bad on later that Thursday, and on Friday and on Saturday. My jog on Friday in the morning with that stupid pack on again, like was fucking horrible. Like, I mean, like, to the point in time where I was like telling my wife as I walked, because it was after Thanksgiving, so she was home from off of work, right? And as I walked out the door, I was like, I don't know if I could do this. I could barely walk down the stairs, like, because I was like, my every time I would take a step down, like my calves and my outside of my quads felt like they were gonna fucking explode, and I was gonna like stumble and fall. And I was like, I don't know that I can fucking run. The first 7 minutes of my run, I think I don't even know if you can call it a run. It was like I was just bouncing up and down in like a walking pace, basically, and it was horrible. Like, I mean, it was fucking horrible. So what I'm getting at is, like, I bonked kind of, I overdid it, and like there wasn't focus and endurance. That was overdoing and then having to course correct and be in misery is what it was, right? So like, this is why balance matters. Run 5 miles every day or something like that, or whatever you feel you can do. Run a mile every day if that's all you can do. Run a quarter mile. I don't really give a shit. Whenever you hit that point where you're like, okay, this is too much, like, then stop, like, and then go do it the next day. You know what I mean? Let your body do what it needs to do, and take some time. Like, if you and I sat down every single night on this podcast, I guess, if you will, and said to each other, hey, we're going to record 9 episodes in a row, you'd be like, we might have done it one time, but then the next day I don't want to talk to you. Like, no, I mean, I'm going to be like, I'm good, Drew, I don't want to talk to you.
We're going to take a month break.
Right. Exactly.
So in a month and 9 days we did 9 episodes, versus like we just do every day when we feel like we do 20 episodes.
Right. God, it'd be horrible. Oh my God.
And the thing is, we hate the experience of the if the 9 episode versus, hey, we're doing this, and I'm struggling to even count. It's like 3-3-5. No, they would just do 3-3-0 like a few 2 days ago. Why is it 3-3-5 now?
Right.
This is where I'm struggling to keep
You're
up with
horrible.
how much I've done it, and that's where I think this is where we hit the sweet spot of the balance, right? We did enough during the week that on a Monday we yearn to come back and talk
Yeah, we're
shit
looking forward to
about
it. Right. For sure. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
like the last week when we had Wednesday and Thursday, we didn't do it for Thanksgiving, and like we've said this on Monday morning this week, and it was like, man, it felt like a really long time, you know. And I
Yes.
and I and I actually, I don't know about you, but I was like, I almost texted you on, because we were done on Thursday night, because we do our Thanksgiving at like 1 o'clock, so we were back by like 4 or 5, and I was just
Mhm.
there, you know, watching movies with my wife or whatever. I about texted you and like, do you want to do this today? Like, I don't know what you're. I almost did, and I was like, no, it's Thanksgiving. Just
Yeah.
like, you know, let him just let him be with his family. Even though I know I'm not doing anything right now, it's fine, you know. But no, I mean, I almost did. I mean, legitimately, because it's like you know, a little bit every single day is great. Like, you know, but like too much is
Yeah,
too.
I mean, you like I said, you can run forever as long as you maintain the calories inside of your body, refueling when you need to refuel. I mean, there's no telling you, hey, how far can you run? Who told you it has to be 26.2 miles? Who said that it had to be?
No one.
I can only play tennis for this number of time or this number of days. I can only swim until I'm this age. I can only do this until I'm 65. Whatever it is, you are putting an imaginary self constraint on yourself, and that's what creates misery. But if you want to do something at a certain time, it's always going to be a pleasant experience, and that's the memories you.
Yeah.
That's the memories of your life, and your life's going to seem like, hey, I have done a lot of positive things.
Right.
From my perspective, I've done a lot of positive things because that aligns with what I want, what I desire as this combinations of DNAs and genes that make me who I am.
Yep.
And I think that's the key is to make that your focus and endure for that reason versus
Right.
any endurance or any bonking. I mean, and like I said, you know, I don't, even though I'm saying is I would bonk for the right, beat the bonk for the right reason,
If you had
but
to,
I
if you
don't,
absolutely had to.
yeah, but I don't think that I will ever do me to beat the bonk because I would never get into the bonk.
That's what I'm saying, is if you absolutely had to. Like, I mean, you would only ever beat the bonk if like you needed to run 26.2 miles to get to your daughter who was, you know, whatever,
But that's
right?
the
You'd be
thing
like,
is, that's the thing is, you know, it's not about I'm running 26.2 miles. I'm thinking
I'm
about
just
running to
running
my
until I get
daughter.
there. Right. Yeah,
Now I'm just
exactly.
running, so we would never hit the bump because
Right.
your brain isn't stopping at 80% and worrying about getting there,
Right.
right? And so
You're not there until you're there.
if you set your focus on the things that are important to you, you get there, that will get there. I mean, your brain doesn't stop, right? It's going to give you everything you need to get to your daughter.
Right.
And you think about it, so you would never hit the bunk. That's what I'm saying is I'm saying that if I had to beat the bunk, I would do it for the right reason. But because if the right reason, beating and bonking would not be necessary. Because
I agree. I know exactly what you're saying, and I agree. I will throw this one caveat out there though. You learn some lessons when you bonk, right? You know, that's
well,
what
there's some
you,
lessons that
you
is
know,
useful. There's some lesson that is not because
this
I
is the
mean
lesson, is don't bonk. Like, that is the lesson, you know.
I
But
mean the thing is if you like I say if for me is on the concept on the reflection and lesson that we learn about um do the things that makes you feel aligned. That is be who you have to be.
a little
That
bit,
but because
not
you think
not
about it,
all day.
if it be no, I think
Even a beaver's got to take a fucking break, you know. Can't
right
damn.
because but what I'm saying is you have to be who you gotta be. But you saying, hey, because I'm a beaver, I must dam, and you say I have to dam 24/7. That's not the case because
No.
you just took that that effort, and you extended it, right? It has more to it because you say, well, it can dam until it runs out of energy, and then it needs to go and recover. And so your body is the indicator that tells you, hey, you did it enough for today. So that is being a beaver, not being a beaver doing 24/7. Because if you building dams 24/7 as a beaver, you're not being a beaver. You're being, some mutated being of a beaver.
Right.
Right? Because the body is telling you, say, hey, I am the body that you're trying to fulfill. I'm the genes that is needing this and that. And you are giving me this. Or I need at this amount. Then when I have enough, I'm telling you I have enough.
Right.
Just like, for example, you and I need water, okay? And I need water in a specific way, right? Your body and my body is made of mostly water. But if you drink water, gallons and gallons of water in the next hour, you will drown and die.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yep.
if I drink if I drink,
you will bonk.
Not only you bonk, but your body will die. Literally,
right.
will die. Right?
Right.
And so there is a certain amount of water that can be taken at a certain amount of time in a certain period of time.
Yeah.
Right. So that your body can go through gallons and thousands of millions of water. But I need you to drink like, hey, a cup an hour, right? Sip, sip, sip. You can sip all your life. Nothing will happen to you. As a matter of fact, it's gonna give you the best health because it has enough nutrient at the right rate.
Right.
That is being what the body needs. So the body is telling you, hey, do not drink just because your body making water. That means that, hey, you can get as much water as you want. So same thing with the beaver. To say that I'm a beaver, I must build dams all the time isn't being a beaver. You're just being,
an idiot.
A stupid beaver.
You're being a stupid beaver.
Yeah, just like a human being. Hey, I got to breathe oxygen, right? But oxygen is, I mean, in I don't remember the right ratio, but oxygen is like 20%, 21% or whatever in the air, and 70% nitrogen, right? And so let's say you increase the ratio of oxygen to 50%, right? You will die because it cannot handle that much oxygen.
Right.
Right. Yeah. It needs the right combination. I need this amount of oxygen in this amount of ratio, this amount of time,
right.
Blah blah. So that is being the human being, right?
Right.
Being human being means that, hey, you have to fulfill what the body is wanting, and you can't say because of, you cannot extrapolate and extend the whatever effort beyond, because that's not how things work. And so without understanding, you would say, hey, if a human needs air, I'm gonna give it 100% oxygen. Right? Hey, if human wants to breathe oxygen, why are we breathing inefficient oxygen in the air?
Right.
You think about it. If you put me into a room that is filled with 100% oxygen, I would die in about 5 seconds.
Really?
I don't know about that, but probably because you need that, because the thing is, you probably need the nitrogen as much as you need the oxygen, and you also need the I guess the right ratio of the exchange of carbon dioxide as well.
Yeah.
Because the nitrogen actually it makes you bounce. It makes the air bounce out, right? And so that's what I'm saying is, to say that human needs oxygen is going to kill you. Just like, hey, I love cake, but imagine give me cake, like, let's say a room full of cake, and I eat all that cake in one sitting. What do you think gonna happen to me? But you say you love cake. What? I mean,
I don't know, man. Could you die from eating too much in one sitting?
You could.
Can you? I mean, I don't. Well, I guess I don't know. I mean, I'm
thinking you're gonna overload. You're gonna overload sugar, and your blood sugar can't handle it. It's gonna shoot too high. You go into a glucose shock, and you might creates havoc to your body, and you might die from arrhythmia or whatever things. Anything can come up. But I'm saying is to say, hey, this is what I need. Doesn't mean that the more the better.
No,
it's about the
it's
right
focus
amount.
and
So it
endurance.
goes back
It's
to what you say before. To say in the beginning, and to go back to the core tenet of clubbing is balance.
Yeah.
The right amount. Right.
Every day.
The right
every
amount of tennis.
Every day.
Well,
All
the right amount of tennis, right? But the thing is, the optimal. The optimal is in a period of time. You have to have something. In the period of time, you have something, right? In order to get the maximum amount over time.
Right. I mean, I would play tennis every day for an hour if I could. I mean, but
for an hour, but you can't play like, hey, I'm gonna play 18 hours, and I'm gonna sleep, 6 hours.
I couldn't play a match. I couldn't play a match a day. Like, I mean, because it would take me multiple hours, and or my body wouldn't be able to recover, and or like, I mean, I couldn't do it. I mean, I don't know how pro tennis players play 6 pro matches in a 2-week period of time. I'd be like, I would need to take months off of tennis after that. Like, but no, they go right back and they keep playing. That's why they get injured all the time. That's why they get hurt. That's why their bodies break down really fast.
Your body's telling you. Your body's telling you. Just like when you're carrying that weight on you, and your body's telling you, hey,
stop.
It's at the end of your ability to carry this. You need to put it down. So you say, hey, let's say you say, well, I need another 5 days, right? Right now, your body say, hey, you are getting close to getting over the edge. If you endure and beating the bonk for 5 more days, you are hurting your body.
I got it. The reason why the bonk is important is because you have to hit it to understand when you bonk, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't find the right balance.
But then you stop. Then why do you want to beat the bonk?
But no, you don't want to beat the bonk. That's what I'm saying.
You want to win it. That's what I'm saying. Don't want to beat the bonk.
You need to figure out where the bonk is, like, and then you
your body will tell you.
Right, and then you need to relearn.
That's what I'm saying is that, like, you go and you run with your daughter, right? You run, and then say, okay, it feels good, and it doesn't feel good anymore. Okay,
it doesn't feel good. I
stop, and then you look at it. Oh, 13 miles. Okay, you know what I mean? It's like, oh no, I gotta go 2 more miles. It's like, who the fuck told you have to go 15 miles?
No one. But I think that's the exact point of this. Is what I was getting at is like I can play tennis for an hour every day, but can I play tennis for 2 hours every day? Can I play tennis for 3 hours every day? Can I play tennis for 5 hours every day? Of course not. Like, I mean, I know
some days you can. Some days you can play for two hours. Some days you can play for 5 hours. Some days you can play no hours. Right.
No, I'm saying I can play for 5 hours. I'm saying, what is the right balance? Like, when do I hit that point where I'm like, okay, this is no longer fun, Chris? Like, like,
But that's what I'm saying. Is if I ask you, hey, Chris, what's your balance? You say, hey, I'm a 9. Well, scale it back. If you ask you, hey, what's your balance? I'm a 2. Well, go back up.
Exactly.
Stop running for too many trains. Stop chasing things that is not important.
Stop running yourself into the ground. Stop playing tennis for 5 hours.
There is a scale. A balance never say, hey, I'm fixed on one, right? A balance say, hey, just like imagine you're on a balancing ball, whatever, right? It's gonna lean to the left. It's gonna lean to the right. Well, you're gonna have to adjust, right? But it's gonna do like this all the time. Like, even for you to stand right now, your body is your muscle is kind of twitching back and forth to make you stay balance. It's never saying it stand still, right? That's not balance. Doesn't it? Balance always in continuous motion. And so that's what I'm saying is, the balance is you're always moving. But the thing is, you say if it moves too much and you move a little bit to the right, so you basically counterbalance it. So having the indicator tells you, hey, you're doing too much of these, you're doing too little of these. So you kind of just like driving a car, right? I need to keep myself in a center lane, right? So sometimes you mean, if you notice it, you're moving your hand up and down just a little bit, right? But it's never stand still. Right. Never. I mean, maybe for a very, very short, and then when you start to veer off course, and then you're gonna tilt it again. You're gonna adjust just a little bit. That's maintaining balance. And so it's not to say that, hey, do this, do that, do the thing you need to do. Let your indicator tell you, or let your compass tell you if you're a little bit off course, and you correct them.
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
So we don't say, hey, I'm gonna play every day for 2 hours. I'm play every day for 1 hour. I'm play every day for whatever. No, someday I feel like playing. Someday I don't. Right? Your body's
Right.
telling you.
Yeah. I
So
mean, yeah,
so
it's
so thing is
listen.
you,
I
you
mean,
can't determine that freehand. That your body say, hey, today for whatever reason you already expend some of these energy where was that in another place, right?
right.
Now you have less. Now you can only have like an hour or 30 minutes or nothing. And then on that day you don't play.
Right.
Right?
Like on that day, you don't strap that stupid pack on your weighted pack
Exactly.
on your back and go and try to run because you're a dipshit. Like I mean, yeah, no, you're 100% right. Okay. Speaking of balance, time to cut us off. We are good. I'm sure we can keep going because I'm sure we will. But like in spirit of this whole conversation,
We
like
don't
let's
want to
not,
hit the ball.
we don't want to bonk. Yeah. So let's save it for the next one, and well, I'm sure we'll come back with same spirit and fun and great conversation. So this one, I think we should change the question to how do you combat the bonk? How do you define when you hit the bonk, and then how do you learn from that, and how do you not do it? Like is really what it should be. Like not combat it because you don't want to combat it because it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen anytime. Like you don't want to combat the
I don't
bonk.
want I
Like
don't
yeah,
want to
you
combat
need to find
ball.
it and learn from it. Is what you need to do. So how do you find and learn it? Push the limits and then learn from that, right? And then go back and recalibrate your balance, right, from that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think this is the lesson today is how do you use the bonk to find and maintain your balance. And I
exactly.
think and I think that's the takeaway here is because you do certain things, there is a certain enjoyment you have with it. But certainly when you hit the bong, well, the enjoyment isn't there anymore. You
No,
need to stop and say, well, I don't have the energy or I don't have the balance. I need to make sure go balance. And if I want to do it again, I feel like doing it again.
right.
If I don't feel like doing it, I mean, I'm not ready.
Yeah, I need to stop and eat some food, or Chris in this scenario, it should have been like, just wait till you finish a nice book and go write your thoughts, when you have a thought, like
I mean, that's what I'm saying is, a lot of the staying in today's working world and life and self-help and self-development is finish strong
right,
and eat the frog and do the hardest thing first, the hardest thing, the hard thing. These are just nonsense, like grits and whatever. It's just nonsense to me now because I just
I mean, I agree.
cannot comprehend these sayings anymore. Say finish strong. Why do you need to finish strong? I mean, do I like it? I mean, if I like it, then it's already strong. There's no need for me to tell myself to finish strong because
Right,
it's not relevant in this scenario.
agree. I cannot disagree at all with what you're saying. I mean, that's why this is called your magical learning, right? Because you're learning on the journey, and it's great to do it with you, man. It's fun. All right, so thanks for joining, and we will see you all on Monday.
Monday sounds good. Good night.
Good night.